Greetings and welcome. This is Rajiv Makni on the Sale Guru Show, and look at the lineup we have for you. We'll start off with our big review, and this is the Vivo V25 Pro. So absolutely great design, very comfortable to hold, color changing AG glass, that's the big magic. No IP rating, no stereo speakers, but the Fun Touch OS now has become so much better. Camera also pretty good. And then we'll review the Tecno Camon 19 Neo. Budget phone from Tecno, good design, packs a lot above the price. IPS LCD screen. It's not AMOLED, but still a great screen. 60 Hz refresh rate. It's not a gaming device, but still pretty powerful. And under 15,000 rupees, this is quite a phone. And we'll close it all with a story that we're continuing from last week, I promised you. This is Corning Gorilla Glass with DX and DX Plus. The one thing that can really change things around in terms of your camera. We'll take that story forward. That and a whole lot more happening on the Sale Guru Show. Let's get started. Our top review today is the Vivo V25 Pro. So a new phone from Vivo, very good looking device, color changing AG glass. At the back looks exceptional, very magical. The kind of things you can do with it just using UV light, which of course is also sunlight. Then the screen, 6.5-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED display, 120 Hz refresh rate, good deep colors in it. And then the Dimensity 1300 chipset, which is an absolute rocket, almost 5000 mAh battery. Triple camera setup, but one of them is a 2 megapixel. So I'm not going to talk much about that, but the primary camera had great output and priced around 35,000 rupees. This, I think, is one of the best phones at this price point.
Design is the hallmark of a standout product, and Vivo has repeatedly nailed the brief. The smartphone market, however, hasn't stood still, and across brands, there's a constant move towards familiarity. With more and more phones adopting a commonly appreciated design strategy, how exactly do you stand apart? The Vivo V25 Pro might have the answer for that. Vivo claims that the V25 Pro might just be the most visually appealing mid-ranger on the market, and it is hard to disagree with the statement. The clean lines, soft edges, and curved display leave a mark, and the phone looks much more premium than its price suggests. The curved glass design isn't just great to look at, it aids the phone's ergonomics and makes the V25 Pro incredibly comfortable to hold all day long. Also making a return is Vivo's special trick. The color changing AG glass is back, and it looks phenomenal. We like the fact that the shifting of the colors has been toned down, but that doesn't mean that the phone is any less stunning. In fact, depending on the ambient lighting conditions, the shifting color patterns give the phone an even more upmarket appeal. There are other refinements too, including a camera module that sits a bit more flush with the back of the phone and flat edges that are a bit more ergonomic to accommodate a larger battery. More on that later. Vivo is matching up the competition with a reworked display as well. The 6.5-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED screen now gets a competitive 120 Hz refresh rate. The colors remain nicely saturated and pleasing to the eye. There's a shift towards a blue tone by default, but it is easy to adjust. This is to your preference using the ample setting options. Brightness too is perfectly adequate, and we have no trouble using the phone outdoors. The phone unfortunately misses out on an IP rating, which is unfortunate considering how common the feature is getting across price segments. The lack of stereo speakers is also concerning in a phone in this segment. The single bottom firing speaker just isn't enough to create a sense of immersion while watching movies or listening to music. You do, however, get a fast and reliable in-display fingerprint scanner. Packing a Dimensity 1300 chipset, the performance of the Vivo V25 Pro is power-packed and more than adequate for this segment. The phone trades below with the likes of stablemate OnePlus Nord 2T and keeps up just fine. Much of that has to do with the exemplary optimization of Fun Touch OS. While still on the Android 12 and with no update in sight, Fun Touch OS is ever so slightly bloated with third-party apps, but it is hard to fault the buttery smooth animations that complete the user experience. The phone does well in gaming as well, and most modern titles won't throw a spanner in your gaming sessions. If all you want to do is play Call of Duty all day long, the Vivo V25 Pro will more than suffice. And if you need a bit of a boost, there's a game mode included too. The phone does tend to get warm to the touch with extended gaming sessions, but is never unreasonably hot. The upgraded 4830 mAh battery also holds up well, all things considered, and we clocked in a full day of use before hitting the charger. The included 66-watt brick takes the phone from 0 to 100 in 45 minutes, which is far from the fastest on the block but still plenty quick. Switching over to the cameras, here's where things get interesting. Vivo has switched up the permutations and combinations on offer to create what it thinks is a more balanced equation. Does it work? Let's see. The Vivo V25 Pro gets a 64-megapixel primary camera combined with optical image stabilization. This is accompanied by a rather pedestrian 8-megapixel ultra-wide camera and a 2-megapixel macro shooter. Over on the front is a 32-megapixel selfie camera with autofocus. The camera quality is by and large pretty good. The colors are very typically Vivo, with oversaturation being the name of the game. That's not necessarily detrimental to the experience, since photos look great on the screen and are practically ready to be tossed up on social media. That said, we expected better low light results considering the addition of image stabilization. The ultra-wide camera performs well enough in broad daylight, but the low resolution of the sensor makes itself known the moment ambient light drops, and nighttime shots can be particularly rough. Rounding things up is a 2-megapixel macro sensor. You know the drill. Low resolution, useless in dim lighting, and just about usable in good light. The front-facing camera, on the other hand, performs admirably thanks to the autofocus capabilities. The Cell Guru verdict. The Vivo V25 Pro sets a high bar for design enthusiasts but doesn't quite hit it out of the park on all fronts. Priced at 35,999 rupees, it does have stiff competition from the likes of the Nothing Phone 1 and the OnePlus 10R. But those phones have their own set of shortcomings too. If you value great design, a good quality display and a very good primary camera, the Vivo V25 Pro might just be the option you need. An excellent, well-rounded package, however, this phone isn't.
Let's move on now to our next review, another big review because this is a big phone, big screen phone for sure. Tecno Camon 19 Neo, all about the look. Big phone, 6.8-inch IPS LCD display, and I said this is a brilliant looking phone in every which way. The screen, crisp, vibrant colors, 60 Hz refresh rate. That part of it is something that we really should have got a little bit better. But the MediaTek Helio G85 chipset more than makes up for it. It can handle day-to-day tasks very, very well with 6 GB of RAM. Yes, 6 GB of RAM at this price point and 128 GB storage. And the memory fusion technology provides an additional 5 GB of virtual RAM to take it to 11 GB. The 48 megapixel primary sensor does very, very well, and a 5000 mAh battery. So at this price point, I think this is a great phone with great features.
Tecno is slowly making a mark for itself in the under 15K segment. A segment that is already crowded by the likes of Xiaomi and Realme, Tecno is a strong contender, giving a fair fight to the competition. Tecno recently launched the Tecno Camon 19 Neo, and it is already making noise for the right reasons. On paper, the phone ticks all the right boxes and then some. But how does it perform? We find out in our review. As soon as you unbox the Tecno Camon 19 Neo, it is a good looking device and there is no doubt about it. Even though the back is made of polycarbonate, it does not look cheap. The smooth finish and the diamond cut design at the back makes the phone look elegant and classy. The Camon 19 Neo is a big phone and it gets difficult to use it with one hand. However, the phone is lightweight and weighs around 198 grams. The power button on the side doubles up as a fingerprint scanner and works well. The phone features a 6.8-inch IPS LCD display with a full HD Plus resolution. The display is crisp and vibrant and the colors do stand out while watching content on the phone. The 19 Neo supports 60 Hz refresh rate. Thanks to the 500 nits of peak brightness, the phone is bright to be used indoors but falters under direct sunlight. Coming to what's under the hood, the Tecno Camon 19 Neo features the MediaTek Helio G85 chipset, which is paired with 6 GB of RAM and 128 GB of storage. You can boost the RAM with the memory fusion technology that provides 5 GB of additional virtual RAM, giving you 11 GB of RAM, which is pretty good for a budget segment phone. The custom High OS UI is based on Android 12. The Tecno Camon 90 Neo comes with a triple camera setup. It sports a 48MP primary lens, a 2MP depth sensor and a QVGA sensor. It has a 32MP front camera. The 48MP primary camera is the hero and clicks some beautiful images. The shots have adequate contrast and vibrant colors with ample of details. The dynamic range is also spot on. It also retains the details in the darker areas as well. Shots taken with the super night mode were also great. Low light images were sharp with a lot of details. The phone disappoints with the other two sensors. The colors are muted with little to no details. The front camera of the Tecno Camon 19 Neo also does a good job. The selfies taken were impressive with adequate details and kept the skin tone natural. The Tecno Camon 19 Neo comes with a massive 5000 mAh battery. The phone can easily last about a day and a half with normal usage. It comes with an 18-watt fast charger. The phone takes about 3 hours to go from 0 to 100%. Priced at Rs 14,999 on Amazon, the Tecno Camon 19 Neo is a phone that gets the job done. So, if you're looking for a phone in the under 15K segment, you can check this out.
Let's take a quick break right now. On the show, when we come back, lots more happening. Last week we did a very interesting experiment, right? You remember where we spoke about Corning Gorilla Glass DX or DX Plus? This is the protective shield that they give you outside your camera lens. And the normal glass that they use can give you a lot of distortion, can actually stop light from entering, can get scratched. So we did a very interesting experiment where one phone had the entire Corning Gorilla Glass with DX experience, which was a one-year-old phone. We took out a brand new phone with a great camera and we actually did the comparison. So today we're going to do something very, very different. To understand how important glass is, the very glass that comes in front of a lens, we're going to speak to a professional photographer. So how important is the quality of glass in photography?
To be honest, it's a very, very crucial component of photography because the quality of glass implies that you have sharper, better pictures, and at the same time, more light enters the sensor of the camera that tends to give you better picture. And also it protects all the important components inside the lens.
How crucial is the glass that covers the camera lenses on smartphones for good picture quality?
Again, as I told you earlier, the quality of the glass ensures that all the main elements of the camera are well protected. And at the same time, if you see over the years, cameras have advanced. At the same time, it's got even bigger and bigger. So bigger the lens, more is it prone to scratches and dust and greases and all that stuff. So the quality of the glass will ensure that there's not much of smudging happening. That will ensure that there's not much distortion, and at the end of the day, you will have amazing pictures to see.
Corning Gorilla Glass with DX or DX Plus lets in more light. There's no distortion, and it also protects from scratches. How essential is this for good quality photography and videos?
Corning Gorilla Glass with the DX Plus lets a lot of light to enter the sensor, which ensures that you get great pictures, and also the colors tend to pop out much better and they tend to do much better in low lighting condition. Also, if there are no scratches on the lens, this will ensure that basically there's no blurring of images or no ghosting happening whatsoever in any of the pictures. And now that we've really come to know that glass is everything, I mean, these guys pay lakhs and lakhs for good glass in camera photography. Now let's go and speak to Corning to find out exactly why they came up with Corning Gorilla Glass with DX and DX Plus. Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I hope you've been well. So Scott, I have to start off by asking you, how long has Corning been studying this entire issue, and do you have data you can share about it?
As we're starting to see the emergence of cameras, we've been studying this for probably more than 5 years, really thinking through how to combine durability and light management together. And it's really a difficult technical challenge because you have the durability of glass, but most of the anti-reflective coatings, the traditional coatings that exist today, just don't have the scratch durability. This has been really exciting on how to develop those sorts of properties and create a material that brings the durability of Gorilla and reduces the reflection by 75%, which is really the fundamental property that we're trying to achieve, whether it be getting photons out of the front of your display, like on a watch, or photons into the back of your camera through the new camera technologies.
Okay, Scott, that is fantastic. Now, besides just protection, does Gorilla Glass with DX or DX Plus also enhance the actual image and video a consumer shoots? How does it do that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think there's, as you clearly mentioned, you're allowing more light into the camera, which, as you know, you're seeing a lot more photo editing now. With all the cameras with, multiple lenses, many times when you take a single photo, you're actually capturing multiple layers of photos. It's almost like being in an audio booth and you're mixing audio. You're now having that ability to mix all those photos into one. And so now you're capturing all this light in different layers, and then you can mix it within the editing software. So those added photons, as you mentioned, are highly noticeable in the photos. But the other thing that what the coating provides is what you don't see is all of the flaws that are reduced and minimized. So with traditional AR coatings, when you get a scratch, that creates two flaws in your photos. One's called ghosting, and then the other one's called a blur. Without scratches, because it has a scratch resistance that's as good as Sapphire from a scratch perspective, but Sapphire doesn't have all the photon capability. This has both. When you have a scratch in your lens, what happens is you get what we call it a flare. And what that looks like is you have a light post, typically on a dark background. Instead of it being a round circle, you'll get this almost streak, almost like a comet across your screen. And so there's those two flaws that you no longer are inherent in the photos. So not only do you get the bright images that you mentioned earlier, but you remove all of those flaw capabilities as well.
Now, Scott, I have to ask you this. I thought Corning Gorilla Glass was already covering the front and back of a smartphone. Was my camera lens not protected before? Why do you need this new offering?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it is a little confusing. So I'm going to kind of break them down into its pieces. So clearly on the front, I've got an S22 here. You've got Gorilla Glass on the front, protecting that with giving you that drop advantage and the scratch advantage that's inherent into Gorilla Glass. What we're really looking at now is an added layer of performance. And it's really all about how do I get the photons into the camera, as many photons as I can. And I think what people don't really understand is glass today, while has great transmission, you still get about 4% of those photons reflected back out into off the front cover of the glass. So what that means is, as you take photos, you're only getting 96% of the photons, and 4 of them are getting lost back out into the ambient air. With our glass composite of Gorilla Glass DX, DX Plus, you're now getting 99% of the photons into the camera. So virtually, you're getting everything that's in real life, you can now bring into your virtual digital life into the camera. And that's what the glass composite provides as an added benefit beyond just the base level of durability and scratch resistance.
So Scott, I have to ask you this question because my entire team wants to talk to you about this. So how about materials like Sapphire? Aren't those similar than what you're doing with Corning Gorilla Glass with DX?
So I'll just start with Sapphire has a great scratch resistance, as you mentioned. I mean, it's like a 9 on the Mohs scale, next to, right below diamonds. So it has that inherent capability, but it's a crystalline material. Whereas glass is a non-crystalline material. So what you're not able to do with Sapphire is provide that drop durability. And that's why you don't see it on the front of phones, because Gorilla Glass has that ability to create really, deep flaw protection and give you that high strength that we're looking for in our drops. Gorilla Glass DX composites provide you all that durability of Gorilla, the scratch resistance of Sapphire, but of an optical performance that doesn't exist in any other material today. There's not a material today that has that ability to do all three, and at the premium, at that high performance across that suite of capability sets.
So Scott, should consumers be considering devices with Gorilla Glass with DX or DX Plus while purchasing a smartphone? Should it now be a buying criteria?
I'm a little biased, but obviously I think so. But even from just a practicality standpoint, if you look at how phones have changed, our digital life used to be our phone, what was in the palm of our hand. The cameras now are becoming our digital life. It's almost like a new language. For rupees, less than 1% of the price of a phone, you can dramatically enhance the performance of your cameras and hence the performance of your phone and the experience that you get with your device. It's almost like you're creating that ultimate user experience by having the right material sets at the beginning from day one. So I personally think that really is becoming a buying criteria for phones. I agree.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for speaking with us. This has been an absolute education. I completely agree with you. I think this is one of the most overlooked factors that a lot of consumers are not looking at. I really think this should become a buying criteria. Just like how people say, does this have Corning Gorilla Glass? I think from now on, all of you should be looking at Gorilla Glass with DX or DX Plus to take your camera, your imaging, your videos to the next level. Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for speaking with us. That then was the Cell Guru Show for this week, but do join me next week as I come to you direct from New York. So 2 shows in 2 weeks where we're traveling pretty much all over the world. Well, world thoda zyada ho gaya. Mostly to the US, New York, and then to Cupertino for the Apple event. Join me next week.